Hello everyone and welcome back again to my channel. If this is the very first time that you are joining in, I want to say thank you so much for clicking on this video. In today's video, like you have seen from the title, we're going to be talking about the benefits of being a Canadian permanent resident. Yes, many people who have come to Canada as international students, they come to Canada, they study for maybe a year or 2 years, and then they apply for permanent residency after 2 years of studying here in Canada. That's what I did when I was an international student in this country. But for some other people, you would come to Canada and you will study for a 1-year program and then you apply for express entry. Now, either you're applying under the FSW, which is the Federal Skilled Worker Program, or the CEC, which is the Canadian Experience Class. Some people will also apply through the Provincial Nominee Program, where different provinces will nominate an individual who is already in the express entry pool to become a permanent resident. Now, there's a difference between being a permanent resident and being a Canadian citizen. The only difference between these two is that a permanent resident cannot vote. That's the only difference between a permanent resident and a Canadian citizen. Now, let us dive down into the business of today, which is talking about the benefits of becoming a permanent resident here in Canada. But before I move ahead with this video, please, if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, please click the link, the red button to subscribe to my channel, and don't forget to turn on your notification icon so that you will be the first to know when I upload new videos. And I do make my videos once every week on a Sunday. Be sure to stay tuned. Now, I'm going to be looking down here because I have my notes written here to remind me of what I'm going to be saying. The first benefit of becoming a Canadian permanent resident is that you can live and work anywhere in Canada. So it doesn't matter if you move down from Africa or from London or from any other part of the world down to Canada as a permanent resident. You can choose to live in Ontario, in New Brunswick, in Alberta, in British Columbia, or any province at all here in Canada. Some people, when they apply to come to Canada under the permanent resident route, what they do is that they apply under the provincial nominee program. And with the provincial nominee program, you tell them that you are going to stay in that particular province for a particular number of time. Now, it is not advisable that after saying that, you now go to that province and you now move immediately, because Gloria said that as a permanent resident, you can work and live anywhere in Canada. Yes, there is a caveat to it. There are those who have applied to a particular province, they have to stay in that province for at least 1 year, and then they can or are able to move to any other province in this country. Now, if you have studied here, like I said earlier on, and you're looking to work anywhere, if you do not apply to the provincial nominee program, you are free to move anywhere and at any point in time. So let's say you've stayed in Ontario for some time and you're like, I've tried staying in this particular province, I want to move somewhere else. Nobody is going to hold you and say no, you cannot move to another province, because you have the opportunity to move to other province. Now, my notes here, I have said that as a permanent resident, you have the legal right to live, work, or study anywhere in Canada. This freedom allows you great flexibility in choosing or where you will settle based on your preferences, like your job opportunities and your family considerations, depending on how many children you have, how big your family is. That will determine your choice of moving to another province. You also need to know that there's going to be job opportunities for you in that particular province, and that the standard of living is something that you and your family can afford. Permanent residents are not tied to a specific employer or province. So there's nothing that says in the law here that because you are working with particular employer A does not mean that you cannot switch and work for employer B. Nobody said you cannot do that. As a permanent resident, you have the opportunity to change or switch employers if you want to. Nobody's going to tie you down. A Canadian permanent resident also has the ability, and this is another point, to leave and enter Canada with their Canadian permanent resident card. So when I had my permanent residence some years ago, I was able to travel back to Nigeria with my permanent residence card, and use that with alongside my green passport. I'm not going to mention the name because some reason I don't know why. With my green passport, I was able to use my green passport to enter into my home country, and then on coming back into the country Canada, I used my permanent residency card to do that. So as a permanent resident here in Canada, you are free to leave and come back. But there's also a caveat. Please read this caveat on the Government of Canada website as it relates to those who have Canadian permanent residency in this country, how you can go and come back, the duration of time you are allowed to stay outside the country, and the time you have to come back into the country. Now, the other benefits of being a Canadian permanent resident is that you have access to healthcare and social services. I'm going to dwell more on healthcare services because I know of that. As a permanent resident here in Canada, you have the opportunity to have a family doctor. Now, what that means is that normally, if you do not have a family doctor, I mean, if you are a permanent resident in Canada, you would have what we call a health insurance card. In Ontario, we call it OHIP, and OHIP is short for Ontario Health Insurance Plan. With your health insurance card, you can walk into a hospital and see a doctor and get treated without having to pay any money out of your pocket. As a permanent resident, you have the option to go to a walk-in clinic to see a doctor. You would not have to pay anything. They will only ask you for your health card. If you're going to emergency, they'll only ask you for what? Your health card, and you would get treated. Now, there's also a caveat again. I'll always say the truth on my videos. The caveat there is that when it comes to prescription drugs, when a doctor prescribes a medication for you, you do not get that free from the hospital. You have to pay for it out of pocket from the pharmacist. Now, if you go to the drugstore and you want to get your prescription medication, if you have an employer's health insurance plan, you can then use that to get maybe a percentage of your prescription medication. I'll tell you how this happens or how this works. So, for example, when I was working full-time at the bank, my employer's plan gave me 80%. So that means that the other 20% is what I pay for. If I go to see a dentist and the bill is $400, the company will pay 80% of the $400 and I will pay the balance of 20%. Now, there are some companies here in Canada that would pay 90% and you pay 10%, while there are other employers that will say 100%, all your benefits is 100%. So I have not been opportune to work with a company that is 100%, but if you are opportune to, you would understand where I'm coming from, that it is so nice to be able to walk in, see a doctor, go to your prescription the drugstore and get your prescription medication, go to the eye doctor, things like that. It is from your health insurance plan, from the government, or from the one you're going to add with your employer. On my notes here, I said that Canada is known for its comprehensive healthcare, and permanent residents have access to most of these healthcare benefits, including necessary medical services at little or no cost. Additionally, they can also avail themselves of other social services, which, like I said, I'm not going to mention them. Please search in your own province what social services are available to permanent residents in your area. The third benefit of being a permanent resident here in Canada is that you can also sponsor your family members to become permanent residents in this country. Now, I'm going to lay emphasis on those who have spouses and are looking to make their spouse come join them as a permanent resident here in the country. So let's say you are a married individual and you've come here to study, you've come here as a permanent resident. Either of the two, you are now looking to get married and bring your spouse over to come and be with you in the country. As a permanent resident, you have the opportunity to apply for your spouse to come and be with you as a permanent resident. Now, Not that there's a caveat, but there are steps that you need to follow for your spouse in order for your spouse to come and join you here in Canada as a permanent resident. So they are not coming to Canada on the visitor's visa. They are not coming to Canada just to visit you and go back. No, they are coming to legally migrate as permanent residents in this country. So for that information, please check the Government of Canada website under permanent residents and find out, or go to the search bar and search for information about how your spouse can join you in Canada as a permanent resident, and follow the steps to make your application for them to come and join you as a permanent resident. On my notes here, I said once you are a permanent resident, you can apply to sponsor your spouse, common law partner, and your dependent children. Yes, I know I forgot to mention dependent children too. To join you in Canada. You can include your family. If you are all coming together from other parts of the world, you can include your family in the application so that you all come together. But if you're already here and your plan is to bring somebody from back home, that is what you're going to do. The other benefits of being a permanent resident is that your children get to study for free. I'm going to read this directly from my notes. I said that permanent residents have right to free education in Canadian public schools up to the age of 18. Moreover, they pay significantly low tuition fees for colleges and universities compared to international students, which makes higher education more accessible and affordable. Now, I'm going to say this in a way that it is understandable to even a layman. As a permanent resident, your children can study in any public school for free. You don't have to pay any fee for them to study. Now, when they get to college, or if they want to go into college or university, they have to pay a tuition. But the tuition is not going to be as high as what an international student is going to pay. Let's say, for example, an international student is going to pay $16,000 for a college program. A permanent resident's child going to the same college would pay probably $3,000 to $5,000 Canadian dollars. Now you get the drift. You see where I'm coming from. So they don't have to pay more. So that is one good benefit of being in Canada as a permanent resident. The last thing I have written on here is that you can become a Canadian citizen, and I'll read my note and I will explain. Becoming a permanent resident is your first step to becoming a Canadian citizen. Once you've resided in Canada for 3 out of 5 years, you'll be eligible to become a Canadian citizen. I'll say that again. Once you have resided in Canada for 3 out of 5 years, that is, you did not travel out of the country, you were stayed put here in the country the whole 3 years, you'll be eligible to become a Canadian citizen. And transitioning to Canadian citizen, like I said, the only difference between the two is that one can go into politics, the other can't go into politics. But I'm not here to talk about that because it's not part of what we are discussing about today. As a Canadian citizen, you apply for your Canadian passport and you no longer need to renew your status in this country. So yes, after 3 years of staying in this country, you can apply for your Canadian citizenship. And what is more better than holding that blue passport? Because with that blue passport, you can travel to different countries without having to apply for a visa. I am serious. I wanted to test my Canadian passport the last time I traveled out, and in fact, I was treated like a Canadian citizen, number one. Number two, they respected my passport. Number three, nobody was asking me any question like, where are you coming from? Where are you going to? What is this? What is that? No, none of that. And I didn't have to apply for a visa. And I'm planning another trip and I don't need to apply for a visa, all because I have the Canadian passport. So with these few points of mine, I hope I've been able to convince you that becoming a permanent resident in this country is your first step to getting the blue pali passport. So I'm going to end my video here. If you've been able to watch my video from the beginning up until now and you haven't yet subscribed, please, I am begging you to please hit the red subscribe button. Share my videos to those who are interested in coming to Canada and who will benefit from this video. Like this video as well, because as many likes as I can get on this video, YouTube will move my videos to other people who are interested in topics like this. And please don't forget to watch the videos that will pop up on your screen shortly, and read my description, because in my description it tells you how you can get across to me and how you can reach me via other social media platforms. Until I see you in my very next video, please stay safe and bye bye.